The year is 1990. The world watches in disbelief as Saddam Hussein, dictator of Iraq, unleashes his forces on the tiny, oil-rich nation of Kuwait. Hussein's aggression sends shockwaves across the globe. The United States, under President George H.W. Bush, declares that this act of aggression will not stand. Operation Desert Shield begins. The U.S. and its allies deploy hundreds of thousands of troops to Saudi Arabia. Their mission is to protect Saudi Arabia from Iraqi attack. They also aim to force Saddam Hussein to withdraw from Kuwait. The world holds its breath. The stage is set for a confrontation that will reshape the Middle East. Tensions escalate in the Persian Gulf. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis fail. Saddam Hussein remains defiant. Meanwhile, the U.S.-led coalition prepares for what seems increasingly inevitable: war. The world braces for a conflict with unknown consequences. Driven by ambition and greed, Saddam Hussein orders the Iraqi army to invade Kuwait on August 2, 1990. Kuwaiti resistance crumbles under the weight of Iraqi tanks and troops. Within hours, Kuwait falls under Iraqi control. Hussein declares Kuwait to be Iraq's 19th province. The world reacts with outrage. The United Nations Security Council condemns the invasion and demands Iraq's immediate withdrawal. The United States freezes Iraqi assets and imposes economic sanctions. The stage is set for a global confrontation. Saddam Hussein gambles that the world lacks the stomach for a fight. He believes that his military might will deter any serious challenge. He miscalculates badly. The United States, determined to uphold international law and protect its interests in the region, prepares for military action. In a remarkable display of international unity, 34 nations join the US-led coalition. Countries from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East stand together against Iraqi aggression. The coalition sends a clear message to Saddam Hussein: the world will not tolerate his blatant violation of international law. This diverse coalition represents a watershed moment in international relations. Never before has such a broad coalition come together to confront an aggressor. The stakes are high. The world watches as the coalition prepares for war. The coalition faces a formidable task. Iraq possesses a large and battle-hardened army. Saddam Hussein has a reputation for ruthlessness. The coalition must plan carefully if it is to liberate Kuwait and defeat Iraqi forces. Under the scorching desert sun, the coalition launches Operation Desert Shield. Hundreds of thousands of troops pour into Saudi Arabia. Ships and planes arrive laden with equipment and supplies. The desert transforms into a vast military staging ground. Life in the desert is harsh. Temperatures soar well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Sandstorms blanket everything in a thick layer of grit. Despite the challenges, the coalition troops remain focused on their mission: liberating Kuwait. The coalition trains relentlessly for the battles to come. Pilots fly countless sorties, honing their skills. Tank crews maneuver across the sand dunes. Infantry practices desert warfare tactics. The coalition knows that victory will require not only superior firepower but also adaptability and cunning. Section 5, Desert Saber, Unleashing the Storm. On January 17, 1991, Operation Desert Storm erupts. The coalition unleashes a massive air campaign against Iraq. Waves of bombers and fighter jets streak across the night sky, targeting Iraqi military installations, command centers, and communication networks. The shock and awe strategy aims to cripple Iraq's ability to wage war. The air campaign lasts for weeks. Precision-guided bombs and missiles rain down on Iraqi targets. The coalition air superiority is absolute. Iraqi air defenses are quickly overwhelmed. The Iraqi Air Force is effectively grounded. The air campaign paves the way for the ground invasion. By degrading Iraq's military capabilities, the coalition seeks to minimize casualties on both sides. The world watches as the noose tightens around Saddam Hussein's regime. Section 6, The Ground War, a 100-hour liberation. On February 24, 1991, the ground war begins. Coalition forces surge into Kuwait and southern Iraq. Tanks clash in the desert. Infantry battles from trench to trench. The fighting is fierce but brief. Within 100 hours, Kuwait is liberated. Iraqi resistance crumbles in the face of the coalition's overwhelming firepower and maneuverability. Outnumbered and outgunned, Iraqi troops surrender in droves. The coalition's swift victory stuns the world. The ground war is not without its challenges. Iraqi forces set fire to Kuwaiti oil wells, creating an environmental catastrophe. Saddam Hussein launches Scud missiles at Israel, hoping to draw Israel into the conflict and fracture the coalition. Israel, however, shows restraint and does not retaliate. Section 7. Stories from the Front. Voices of Desert Storm. Amidst the chaos and carnage of war, stories of courage, sacrifice, and resilience emerge. Captain Scott Spiker, a U.S. Navy pilot, is shot down on the first night of the air campaign. His fate remains a mystery for years. Sergeant Melissa Rathbun Neely, a U.S. Army medic, tends to the wounded under enemy fire. She witnesses firsthand the horrors of war, but also the unbreakable bonds of camaraderie that unite soldiers in combat. These are just a few of the countless stories that illustrate the human toll of Operation Desert Storm. The war reminds us that behind every battle statistic, there are individuals whose lives are forever changed by conflict. Section 8. Victory's Aftermath. A New World Order? With the liberation of Kuwait, the world breathes a collective sigh of relief. Saddam Hussein's aggression has been contained. The coalition's decisive victory ushers in what President George H.W. Bush calls a new world order, one in which aggression will be met with swift and collective action. The aftermath of the war sees the establishment of no-fly zones over Iraq to protect Kurdish and Shiite populations from Saddam Hussein's regime. The United Nations imposes strict weapons inspections on Iraq to prevent the development of weapons of mass destruction. However, the victory in Desert Storm does not solve all the problems in the Middle East. The seeds of future conflict remain sown in the region. The war's legacy will continue to be debated for decades to come. Section 9. Legacy of the Storm. Echoes in the Desert. Operation Desert Storm marks a turning point in modern military history. The war showcases the effectiveness of air power and precision-guided munitions. It also highlights the importance of international cooperation in confronting aggression. The war's legacy, however, is complex and multifaceted. The conflict leaves behind a trail of unanswered questions and unintended consequences. The rise of extremist groups like Al-Qaeda can be traced back to the instability created in the aftermath of Desert Storm. Operation Desert Storm serves as a reminder that victory in war is never cheap or easy. The war's legacy continues to shape the Middle East and the world today.